Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. Today we are sitting down and I'm going to be doing another MHA Q&A. MHA is Master of Health Administration. If you don't know, I just graduated with my MHA in May and I was in a full-time 2-year program. So a lot of my channel has been me kind of navigating grad school and jobs and things like that. I think a lot of you found me through that. So I wanted to end off that chapter of my life with a final Q&A. It's funny to see because I did one of these like before I even started the program or right in the beginning, and then kind of I did one midway, and then now I'm graduated, and it's just interesting to go back and look at those because A, I look so different, like it's crazy how different I look throughout 2 years, and B, just kind of like how my knowledge of the future has transformed. I will put those in cards. I would say they are valuable. Like I definitely think I had good information in all of them. So I think they're still really good videos to watch. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe. Join the family that we have created over here on the internet. I love posting videos for you guys. And this one especially is super highly requested. I get questions all the time. So I'm gonna answer as many as possible. So stick around. You know what they say, like grab a snack, get comfortable, whatever, because I'm gonna be chatting with you guys for a little bit. I'm gonna try to get to pretty much every question. I'm coming a little bit closer so I can just kind of sit back and relax and answer these questions. So the first question I got says, will you continue to make videos and where do you want to take your channel next? I wanted to start with this one just to kind of get it out of the way and kind of tell you guys where I see my channel going in the future. I think I kind of accidentally fell into this like work/grad school niche on YouTube. I really started my channel focused around lifestyle videos, fashion, you know, just like living my everyday life. And then I had a lot of questions and you guys got super interested in my school journey and career journey in general. So I kind of fell into that niche a little bit. I do love making work videos and things like that, but the issue with it is that it's really hard to make work-related videos in healthcare. Everything is very private.
Hello, this is Flanquin. This is Flanquin.
And I would never risk the integrity of my job by any sense just making videos to put online. So with that being said, yes, of course, I love YouTube so much. I'm gonna continue making videos. I am ready to leave this chapter of life in the past. So grad school, you know, I'm sure I'll talk about it here and there, but you know, I am moving on from that. I have a job now. I have my degree. I am ready to build my career. So I'm kind of past the grad school aspect of things. And when it comes to work vlogs, I'll probably, you know, mention work here or there. I'll let you guys know any career changes. If I quit my job, get a new job, whatever, I will definitely keep you guys in the loop because at the end of the day, that is part of my life. But I really don't want to be tied down to this work niche. YouTube to me is a hobby and a side hustle. So I want to show you guys other things about my life because I work my job 9 to 5 every single day. And the last thing I want to do is vlog my weekends and talk about work, if that makes sense. So I want to branch out into more lifestyle related things, you know, home decor, fashion, things that I really love and enjoy outside of work, because at the end of the day, I am a person outside of my job. I know you guys are super interested in my job and I think that's amazing. And like I said, that content isn't going to completely halt. But, you know, I have new things going on now and I'm probably going to move my content a little bit more lifestyle focused. So I hope you guys do decide to stick around. If you don't, I understand that. But, you know, my career is important to me, but it isn't everything. And it's not why I started YouTube in the first place. Now let's get into what you guys really want to know. Did you have any experience working in the healthcare field before applying to MHA programs? Very minimal experience. I did work as a nurse aide, which I think was really beneficial because I did get to see how a hospital ran through the clinical side of things. I don't think you have to have healthcare experience, but I do think it's helpful. And then secondary to that, I was a research assistant in a lab. So again, I do think that was somewhat beneficial for me, just understanding how things worked. But I don't think you have to have experience to go into the degree. Did school actually help you on the job, or did you learn mostly everything during your job training? I would say school definitely helped me with my job in the sense of getting my job and being qualified for my job. I wouldn't understand how hospital systems work without my degree, and with that being said, my job does require a high-level degree, so without the degree, I couldn't get the job. And also, I got my job through a connection I made through the program. Your degree is never going to train you for your job. You're not going to walk out of your degree, sit down on a desk, and know exactly what to do for that company or for that position. That's just not how it works. So my on-the-job training definitely taught me what I'm doing day to day, but I think the degree really prepared me and got me the job at the end of the day. What was the most challenging class? I think it really depends on your skill set and also your professors. I know that's a very broad answer. I think if you aren't great at math, you'll probably struggle with the financial classes, which are very Excel heavy and SPSS heavy, which are programs, online computer programs. If you aren't good with technology, I think you'll struggle with that type of stuff. I struggled in certain classes, I would say more because of professors and their expectations. So it just kind of depends on that sense, but I know a lot of people ask me if it's math heavy. It definitely is relatively math heavy, but I would say more like analytical heavy in that sense. We don't take any like calculus classes or anything, and you don't do any math by hand, but you do need to be able to plug and chug formulas on computer programs. Someone asked, can you tell me how do internships work in grad school? Definitely going to be different for all programs, but for mine, we had a required 160-hour internship, which is actually how I ended up getting the job that I have now, is through that internship. But basically, you are required to get an internship. The program did help us. They provided us with connections and gave us a lot of opportunities to apply to different internships. So for me, I did it over the summer when I was only taking one class, so I wouldn't do it with a full load. I think that's just really difficult. So I was doing 40 hours a week for about 8 weeks, and then at my internship, it was unpaid, which is unfortunate. I would probably say our class was like 60-40 unpaid to paid internships, maybe more on the unpaid side. I hate to say it, but I do think companies sometimes take advantage of grad students in that sense because they know you need these internships. But basically, I worked 40 hours a week during the summer, during 8 weeks. It was hybrid. I would go in some days, work here some days. That's how mine worked. It was pretty simple. This person wants to know, is it hard to get a job right after your master's, and do companies offer you job positions while getting your master's? Yes, you definitely get recruited while you're in your master's. I've had 2 jobs during my master's degree. The first one was a healthcare analyst job, which I was recruited through LinkedIn. And the particular company I worked for really recruited a lot in our MHA class. I mean, there was probably 4 or 5 of us that worked for the same company who got recruited. So they are, already scouting you and looking at you when you're in the program. And then my second job I got through my internship, and I started the job before I graduated, like 3 weeks before graduation. So I hadn't quite gotten the degree yet, but I was pretty much right there. So I don't think it's that difficult to get a job after graduation with a master's. I think you might have to settle for something a little bit lower than you were wanting and expecting, and that's something a lot of my peers and I dealt with, is struggling to find things we thought were, I hate to say, but like paid us enough in that sense. We all felt we deserved a little bit more than we were getting offered, but at the end of the day, you have to start somewhere, and just getting your foot in the door with any kind of career is a good start. What type of connections should we make in order to build a good network? I think networking with your professors is really important. They have really great connections because they've taught so many alumni in the past. With that being said, I would also connect with your alumni network. We have a LinkedIn page for MHA alumni from my school, and it's just really great to see what people 2 years, 3 years, 10 years out of the program are doing, because it really gives you an idea of where you can go in the future. And also, their alumni are so willing to help you. Like, I've reached out to multiple alumni. They'll give you their cell phone number. They want to help because they know where you are and they want to help a fellow alumni. So I think really tapping into that alumni network, reach out to them on LinkedIn, ask them questions. I think that's a really good place to start. Okay. Everyone wants to know, could you tell me the starting salary right after your master's? This is a very, very broad answer. Like, I can't give you a exact number because it's going to depend. It depends, where are you applying for jobs? Are you applying in Charlotte, North Carolina? Are you applying in Boston or New York City? answers are going to be very, very different. And also the MHA scope of jobs is very, very different. I would say, depending on your city and what type of job you are getting, I would say your starting salary is going to be anywhere between $55,000 and $85,000. I know that's a pretty big range, but like I said, it really depends on the city. And also, I will say that is if you are straight from college into your MHA with no experience. If you're an executive and you're just going back to school, you know, you're 20 years into your career, you're going back to school and getting your MHA, you're probably easily making over 6 figures. But as someone who has very little to no experience, just got an MHA, is applying for jobs, fresh out, first job really, you're probably gonna get an entry to mid-level position in a hospital. And depending on your city, again, I would say $55,000 to $85,000. Probably like 75 to 85 is better if you're in like a big city like Chicago, New York, and smaller, more up and coming cities like Charlotte. I mean, I would say everyone in my program, fresh out, is probably making between $55,000 and $70,000 is probably what I would say. So I get that question a lot about salary. I don't think that you should be going into this career for the money. I do know that money is important. Obviously, you have to pay your bills, but this isn't a degree that you're gonna go and get a 2-year degree and walk out making 6 figures. That's just probably not the case. I would say that's the exception, not the rule, if that happens to you. But I think you'll get there eventually, but I wouldn't go into this for the money because healthcare is a hard area to be in. Our healthcare system is very broken here in the United States, and there's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of regulations. It's a lot of work for sometimes not the best pay in the world. So I would definitely go into it because you're passionate about it, not if you're looking for an easy degree that makes really great money out of school. Okay, Sarah says, can you talk about how to negotiate salaries for your first post-grad job? I think that's a really great question actually, because I did just go through this and I can kind of like walk you guys through it. So when you're going through job interviews, they will ask you what range of salary you are looking for. I've always heard not to give the first number, so I've always heard to say, well, you know, I have a range that I have in mind, but I'm interested in your budget for this position. So always try to get them to say a number first. And then depending on their number, you can say, okay, well, I was looking for this range. I always bump it higher than what they said. So if they say, you know, our budget for this position is $55,000, I would say, okay, well, I was looking for closer to $60,000. That's kind of a good thing. And then usually the person interviewing you, at least in big companies, isn't the person offering you the salary. That goes to HR. So then assuming you get the position, HR will call you and they will give you an offer. And I think the best thing to do is really just to don't have fear negotiating. I've always said, if I negotiate and someone rescinds my offer, that's not a company I want to work for. I would much rather work for the companies who value your opinion, and I think it's a stand-up thing to negotiate your salary. I think you always should negotiate your salary, even if it's $1,000 more. I think you should negotiate it, and you just kind of have to go into it with confidence. You know, when I negotiated my salary, she gave me a number and I said, you know, I really appreciate your offer. Due to my degree that I am bringing in, as well as my past experiences for this position, I was looking for a number a little bit closer to this. It wasn't that much higher, but it was a little bit higher. And even if they tell you no, at the end of the day, that's your decision from there if you want to accept or reject the offer. And like I said, if they rescind your offer, it's not a company you want to work for anyway. That's like not okay. Negotiating is very common these days, and I would almost say expected. I've heard hiring managers say they're shocked and kind of taken aback when people don't negotiate. They are never giving you their top number, ever, ever, ever. I guess my main advice is to have confidence and know your value and have a number in your head that you're really wanting, and then say a little bit higher than that. So this person also asked about being a TA and the research I did while I was in my master's. So I was a TA, which is a teaching assistant. I was really more of a GA, which is a graduate assistant. So TAs, you know, work with classes, grade papers, help students. I was more on the GA side of things, so that means I helped with research. So my professor's research is more so what I did. Honestly, I got a email before I even started that they were looking for someone to do research as like a research assistant / coordinator situation, And I had that experience in my undergrad, so I applied. I happened to have really good experience with the online program they were using, so it's kind of just like fell into my lap. But basically we were putting social workers in clinics that didn't already have social workers and measuring how they helped the clinic staff and patients and the differences that the social workers made in those clinics. So that's kind of like the type of research I was doing. And I would say I just got lucky. I answered an email about a job posting and I got the job. That I worked 2 years and made a really close relationship with my supervisor. So I would just say you'll get a lot of emails when you're starting your program about positions and jobs that the university is hiring for. So I would just do your best to reach out to those and try to find a position that is the best fit for you. What helped you find your interest in this field is I know it can be pretty broad. Yes, it can be super broad. You can do anything from management to finances to HR to consulting to quality management. And I would say I am still almost figuring that out. I think you figure that out as your career goes on. Every job I've had has just kind of fallen into my lap in a sense via recruiting or emails or whatever. And each job has taught me things I like and don't like about health administration. And I think those interests will just continue to develop as I continue on in my career. So I would just kind of say have patience, really take in all the experiences that you're offered and just see where you go from there. Someone asked what kind of remote work am I doing from home? So I know it is kind of odd to think like health administration, you can work from home. There are a lot of work from home jobs, especially if you were going to go into like financial analytics or any type of analytics. But just to keep it broad, like I said, it's really hard with healthcare. But I am doing research management and research analytics for a cancer hospital. That is pretty much as broad as I'm gonna go, but I'm dealing with analyzing data and also managing research projects. So right now I'm more on the clinical research side of things, but I am hoping in the future this will translate into maybe a bigger managerial role where I have people under me and I'm managing these type of projects. Any advice for incoming first years? I would say, kind of like I just said earlier, really take in and soak in every opportunity that you're given, because you're not going to figure things out when you first get into it. You're not going to have the answers to all your questions immediately, but the more opportunities you immerse yourself in and the more jobs you take and internships and whatever, the more you can kind of slowly figure out where you see yourself fitting in the future. And I would also say connect with your alumni network. I think that's super important. I have a lot of really good friends who graduated before me and they were like vital in my journey because I could reach out to them and ask them my pressing questions. And they were like trusted advisors, but they were only a few years older than me, so they were also my friends. Any starting entry-level job recommendations for someone with no experience? And then someone asked, what are some common job titles that you search for when applying for MHA jobs? That's the question I get a lot. Like I said earlier, I got my job through recruiting and then prior connections. So I would say that's most important. But things to search for if you're looking for entry-level jobs, I would use LinkedIn and Indeed. I think those are your best bet. I would put in the city that you're looking in. I think that's important because if not, you'll get very broad ranges. So I would start with the city and then I would start pretty much with your degree. So I would start with health administration and you'll get a lot of different things from practice managers to consulting jobs, etc. If you are more interested in consulting, I would look up healthcare consulting. If you're interested in analytics, I would look up healthcare analytics, healthcare analyst, healthcare data. If you're interested in finance, I would look up healthcare finance. And if you don't know what you're interested in, you can look at all of those things. And then a really great feature about LinkedIn is if you start saving the jobs that you find interesting or that you want to apply for, it'll start suggesting similar jobs to that. So that's what I would start looking up: health administration, hospital administration, healthcare analyst, healthcare consultant, things like that. Healthcare quality analyst, healthcare financial analyst. Those are going to be pretty broad, so you'll get anywhere from entry level to director level roles, but you can narrow down your search by putting as one of the filters like entry level and things like that. So it's really, I get that question a lot, like what jobs do I look for? You know, it just depends on the company and what you're interested in. And I know that might not be exactly what you wanted to hear, but I don't know your interests or where you're living or what hospitals are around you. So that is what I would start with, is literally health administration in your city, entry-level jobs. And then from there, you can get a better idea of what these jobs are called around you, and you can start searching a little bit more specifically. So I hope that helps you kind of get started on your job search there. Was it hard to find MHA graduate programs that encouraged applicants coming straight from undergrad? Yes and no. I think it's pretty easy to tell. And you can also always reach out to the program administrators and kind of get an idea of their cohort. A really good thing to do is look at their past cohorts, and you can tell if they are designed more for executive people or not. Also, some will have requirements, like you should have been working for 5 years before applying. Just look out for things like that on their admissions website, and I think you should be able to filter them pretty easily. I don't think I was limited. You're already pretty limited if you want an accredited program, and then from there, I don't think it limits you much further if you are straight out of undergrad. Do you ever feel pressure to pursue a degree more on the clinical side during your MHA program? No, I have never felt pressure at all. Everyone in the program doesn't, at least for me, didn't have the clinical degree. We knew that we were on the business side of things, so never felt any pressure to be a clinician in any way. If anything, if you're feeling that way, you might have your own internal pressures, but I have not felt any outside pressures at all to be a clinician. What are some common job titles? I just answered that. Was your undergrad major harder than your MHA courses? I would say yes, and I've answered this question before. The reason I think undergrad was more difficult is because I wasn't interested in what I was doing as an undergrad. Like, I just kind of picked it. I thought I wanted to be a clinician, etc. I realized quickly that's not where my heart lied, so I was taking a lot of really difficult science classes that I wasn't interested in, so it made it a lot more difficult. Whereas my degree now, I'm super interested in it, or I was super interested in it. I'm done now. And I was passionate about it, so it was a lot easier for me. Plus, you're in a small cohort, you become friends with your cohort, your professors all know your name. It's very different than your 300-person lecture classes. How often were you able to make time for your friends, family, and boyfriend? I would say family. So my family lives about 3 hours away. I would maybe see them mainly during the holidays. I would say on average once every 3 months or so. I think that is pretty good. I would basically block off a weekend to go home. I was lucky that they were that close. Some of my friends were from Charlotte, and so they could see their family every weekend, but I just tried to block off a weekend every 3 or 4 months or so to go home. And I also used that weekend as like a reset. I would literally go home, stay off my phone. I wouldn't be going out. I would just be hanging out with my family once every 3 or 4 months. And then I probably talked to them on the phone once a week, maybe. That's what worked best for me. You don't have all the time in the world. Boyfriend, I would try to have a date night with my boyfriend once every week or two. So whether that's blocking off a Friday night to go on an actual date. I think dating your significant other is extremely important. So one night every 2 weeks maybe for an actual date. And then obviously you spend time with your boyfriend throughout the week, whether you're having sleepovers or whatever. I didn't find that too difficult. If I got out of class at 8:15, my boyfriend would come over and we would hang out, watch a movie, go to sleep. Like, to me, that time is valuable and good enough. So I would probably maybe see him, besides a date night, like 3 or 4 nights a week, just sleepovers and stuff. For me, that's what worked best. And then my friends, my weekends are pretty much for my friends. I would see them at least once a week. So I would treat everything like a 9 to 5 job. So I was working and doing homework from 9 to 5, class from 5 to 8:15, and then my boyfriend would come over. We would spend the night together like 3 or 4 nights a week. We would have a date night Friday nights, and then Saturday nights were always for my friends, and then Sundays were for me. That's kind of how my weeks looked. Sundays I used to spend by myself, reset, do spa, self-tan, all that good stuff. But for me, I get energized by the people around me. So I'm definitely an extrovert. So like I really fill my schedule with seeing everyone because it's important to me. But at the end of the day, I think it also is important to have 1 or 2 nights a week by yourself to kind of reset and have your own times. I hope that kind of made sense. Okay, how'd you make time for yourself? Yeah, I would set off Sundays literally to do that. And then maybe one other day during the week. So like a Thursday night, I would also spend by myself. Like I said, like for me, my self-care time is like that shower, the shower. and self-tanning, and I also made time for myself a lot through going to the gym. I went to the gym probably 3 days a week, which might not seem like a lot, but it is when you have a lot of other stuff going on. And that was just a way for me to relax. So maybe set an hour a day for yourself to do something you enjoy, whether that's go on a hot girl walk, go to the gym, cook dinner, whatever you like to do, an hour a day for yourself, and then maybe a day or two a week. Can you talk more about finances? How can an undergrad prepare their personal finances for grad school? So I did finance grad school completely through student loans, federal student loans. That is how I got through it. I would say my biggest expenses outside of tuition was just moving and to apartments and things like that. So I would put any money you get, I would put 10% into savings. That's kind of what I did to start off. It doesn't matter if you're making $50 a week from a part-time job or $1,000 a week, you know, put aside that 10% and just live off that minimum. If you are planning to take loans, I think you will be perfectly fine. They give you plenty of loans, at least they did for me. So I'm graduating with about $40,000 in student loan debt, and I'm about to have to start paying that off. So that'll be a fun journey that I'm going to take you guys along, is my journey to being debt free. That is the only debt I have, is my student loans, but I do want to be debt free, obviously. So that will be a fun journey. I will take you guys along. It doesn't really stress me out too much having debt and loans. I just feel like it's part of the journey and I will get it paid off as soon as I can. And there's always side hustles. Like right now I'm on Rover. Like, do I need this extra money? No, but is it nice to have to put into savings, put towards my loans? Yes. If you're struggling and you are healthy, there is no reason not to pick up something else. That's just how I feel. That might not be the best advice, but don't stress out too much about finances because you'll always get through it. And that is something I've learned, is that I always make it through. Even when I'm really stressed out, you might have to live off milk and rice for a week, but you will get through it. Did you graduate with good or bad debt? I graduated with good debt. So good debt versus bad debt. Good debt is something that will over time increase your wealth. So a student loan or degrees are considered good debt. If I put my degree on credit cards per se, that would be considered bad debt because they're super high interest. I think I'm explaining this correctly, but yeah, so mine is good debt. Also, my stepdad is a financial advisor, so I am pretty big on finances. I have my finances in line. I know how I'm going to pay off my student loans. I have savings accounts. I have retirement accounts. Started these when I was 18. I've always been really into finance. I worked in a financial office, or my stepdad's financial office, for a few years in college. I love saving money. That's something that I am super into. So I am very confident that I do have good debt. And another good way to measure that is as long as your salary is more than your student loans by the time you graduate, then you are in a pretty good position. That is something my stepdad always told me, and I am making more than my student loan debt. So I feel really good about being able to pay it off. I want to say conservatively within 5 years. I would love to pay it off quicker than that, but we'll see. Was it easier to find employment as an MHA student? So I did, as you guys know, as I've mentioned, have a job throughout my MHA, and then she also wants me to compare the salaries of my previous job to my current job. Let me do some math really quick. So as a graduate assistant, as a GA, I was making about $15,000 a year, not much. And then my first full-time job as the healthcare analyst, I made significantly more than that. And then as my newest job I got with 3 weeks before graduation, I'm making about $6,000 more than I was making as an analyst. So that's kind of like my salary growth. I'm not gonna tell you guys my salary, but I would say, so I'm definitely making more with my degree than what I was making, obviously, as a graduate assistant. And then as a healthcare analyst, I am making more. And then what are my career goals? Like I said, I don't have the aspirations to be like a CEO of a hospital or anything. I think I'm a really good leader and manager. So I think my goals are to, no matter what field of healthcare I'm in, whether I end up in finance, consulting, if I stay in research, my overall goal is to manage a team. So maybe that's be a manager, a director, something like that. I think I'm really good with people and I like working with others. So I think managing a team is my overall career goals. And I think it will evolve as time goes out. So make sure you stick along to see kind of where things go. How many hours was your program and how many internships did you need? My program was 51 hours. It took me 2 years full time and I needed 1 internship for 160 hours. So I did that for 8 weeks, 40 hours a week. I also get a lot of questions about people coming from other countries and applying to this program. I just want to say I am not the person to ask about that. I am blessed to not have had to apply from out of the country, and I don't really know how that visa situation and stuff like that works. So unfortunately, I'm not the person to answer your questions. I would never want to steer you in the wrong direction with that kind of stuff. My advice would be to try to find people who did go through that situation. So, you know, look on LinkedIn, things like that for people who maybe were from your country and then got an advanced degree in the United States. I think that's probably your best bet on where to start with that. How long did you stay at employers before looking for a new job? So I stayed at my healthcare analyst job for about 9 or 10 months, and my current job I want to stay at for a year, I think, before I start looking at either promotions or other jobs. Kind of just depends. I think, you know, I do think staying at jobs looks good, but at the end of the day, it's not always in your control. And with how things are now, you know, if you get offered more money, at the end of the day, I hate to say it, but that tends to outweigh a lot of other things. I think the importance of staying at a job for a little bit is it takes time to learn the job and to get experience, but some things are out of your control. Sometimes you move, sometimes you get offers, sometimes you get recruited. Just kind of depends. So I was a GA for 2 years. I stayed at my analyst job for 10 months and planning to stay at this job at least a year, if not longer. So that is that path. I know people who switch jobs every 3 months until they made the amount of money they wanted to make. That's not exactly my forte, but I'm not against it if a really great opportunity did come along. What are the number of working hours for a starting healthcare manager? Healthcare management, as far as I'm concerned, is Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. I would say you're gonna work a 40-hour work week. As you get a little bit higher up, you might work significantly more than that, but I would say you are working a pretty normal 9 to 5 type job. What did you do your undergrad in? Exercise and sports science. I have a whole video on that, which I will put up in one of the cards, on why I kind of switched my career path and decided to be a health administrator. And then, do you need to have medical or pharmaceutical knowledge? Totally depends on your position. Yes, for the job I'm working right now, having healthcare knowledge is pretty important for me. I kind of need to know medical terminology. I think if you can take a medical terminology class in undergrad, I think that would be important for you. But you don't need to know pharmaceutical or diagnostic type knowledge. I just think knowing a lot of the terminology is super helpful. I will end this with, would you say an MHA is worth it? Yes, I obviously think it's worth it. I did get the degree. I am really happy with the degree. I like having an advanced degree. Like, I like having the letters by my name, and it opened a lot of doors for me connections wise. I think that's one of the most important things about an advanced degree is the connections that you are able to make with other people. And like I said, I got jobs through internships, and I am really proud of my degree. And I think for what I want to do with healthcare management, I think it was the perfect degree for me. So I hope that this answered all of your questions. I tried to get to every single one. I'm pretty sure I did. So I hope I answered your question. I hope that it was helpful. Leave some questions in the comments if you have any others. I will do my very best to get back to you. Make sure you subscribe, join the family that we have over here. Like I said, the work content isn't gonna stop. It's still gonna come here and there, but there is gonna be a lot more fashion, lifestyle content as those are my like side hustles and my hobbies. So I hope you guys understand. Sorry if I'm kind of rushing this. My camera is about to die. I need to get a second battery. I only have one. I don't know why. But with that being said, I will see you all so very soon in my next vlog. I'm going to vlog this upcoming weekend, so should be a fun one. Love you guys so much, and I will see you so very soon. Bye guys.